We were just talking about who the last Titan could be. Pyro seems to have a theory about it. What I'd like to see in the last Titan. Let's see what his theory could be and how good it sounds in terms of what the last part of this World Soul Saga could be.
What's your perfect World Soul Saga ending? I don't know about perfect, but one thing that comes to mind is Azeroth awakening, having to, but maybe even only temporarily, expending power to be awake. She does so, has to fight the Titans. In fighting the Titans, expends a ton of her energy, but destroys them. Maybe thus genuinely sending their souls back to their original realms. And then, maybe
Hard
the opening
reset.
to what happens after the World Soul Saga is our initial opening expansion into going to some of these other worlds, pursuing them and stopping them from repeating what they've done in the past. It doesn't all have to hinge on the Titans either. There is also lore set up for a potential First One's storyline. And depending on what those are, they could take it that
Going
route as
to
well.
other worlds is an interesting thought, although I wouldn't want Azeroth to become irrelevant. I don't know what we would do with our current world then. If we went into an expansion where you literally go to other worlds and then those become the important part, I feel like it would render everything we've ever done in Azeroth. We would never go back to Alwyn Forest, never go back to these lands that we've grown up with and love now. So yeah, new world, new world. Yeah, that's it. World of Warcraft becomes New World, the MMO. Yeah, that's right. I would like to see like a reset on Azeroth. I wouldn't mind that. Like her awakening essentially like takes all the power away from the beings. Like it turns out like we were all storing power, all this gear we've been getting, the strength we've been gathering, all the progression we've made was essentially like we were like little batteries for Azeroth. And she drains all that power, uses it to finish this World Soul Saga fight off, and then we kind of get a soft reset, more like a hard reset of World of Warcraft in general. Enter WoW 2, here we go, we're starting over kind of thing. Maybe. That to me would be kind of better than going to other worlds.
Um,
Yeah,
if
WoW
not
2.
both. So for me, realistically, Azeroth, I want to see Azeroth wake up. I want to see the Titans get fucked up.
Yeah, I
want
want
to
to see him get fucked up too.
Maybe she has to expend such a
We know left
tremendous
the game
amount
for
of
another
energy
20
fighting
years, yeah.
them that she goes back to sleep. Maybe in doing so, portions of our own world, if not our whole world, are reborn. And maybe after that I don't know. There's lots of different cool stuff you could do. You could have reorigination happen. Aman'Thul could rewind time on us. We could trigger a mass reorigination event.
Rewind time, start over.
It wouldn't surprise me if in some event we have a situation where we have like a contained reorigination event similar to Uldum, where maybe a portion of the world gets reoriginated, or maybe all but one little spot, and we are in that spot. Everything else around us gets reoriginated.
Interesting.
We're in like the dead zone, or we're out of the dead zone, or whatever.
If a reorigination happens, or like we go back to the beginning, I hope we get an up-res of the entire world too. Like when you go to the new lands, it still feels Warcraft, which is nice. It's still the WoW art style. It's not hyper realistic, but it looks much better than the old shit. So I would love to see everything up-res to the new style. That would be amazing.
Call it. There's lots of opportunities. The great thing about WoW is that they have a canonical world resetting and potentially universe resetting thing that is reorigination.
Yes.
And so I think in some capacity you seek to leverage that power.
Yeah.
I
think one thing that would be really cool about this is if like we used all of our power, if Azeroth used everything we've ever known and gathered and all that, and we get reset, it would be nice because then we can go back to just like fighting a dragon in a cave kind of thing. Because eventually this power creep is becoming too much. It's like a problem that the Dragon Ball universe has, where like how much bigger and badder can the big bads get when you got Super Saiyan like level, SSJ Blue and all this shit going on? Like how much further can you go? What are you going to go Rainbow Super Saiyan? I don't know. Eventually the power creep has to somewhat be reset. So it would be kind of nice to go back to, the threats just being a dragon in a cave, a Nixia style or something. I miss those days. So maybe we can get that out of it. Yeah, maybe we're setting up for exactly that. Put WoW 3.0 with a post-Kata world. Yeah, exactly. That would be nice. Except like the difference between Kata and this 3.0 version of the world would be like you're not changing the world necessarily or breaking it. It's the same world, just uprest and nicer looking. And then there's quests and everything to do and all the zones and everything again. To be honest, I don't know if I would still play WoW if it reset. I lose all my collectibles. You don't have to lose all your collectibles. There's transmog, right? You can have all that and your mounts and everything else. It's just the power gets reset. Your level gets reset. There's reasons to go back to Elwyn Forest now and everything else. I think that's part of what's good about transmog is it would give them the ability to keep that shit. It just wouldn't have its power anymore. Kind of like our Legion legendaries now, right? There's no power behind a Legion legendary anymore, but you could still transmog into it, which is nice.
Also, like to note that in Antorus, the Burning Throne, as the characters are approaching the Coven of Shivara fight and the
Alliance and Horde disband, maybe.
You are you're accosted by some Dark Keepers, multiple of which actually, cast an ability called Flames of Reorigination. I've also discussed in the past how there are multiple types of reorigination as it appears, maybe one altered by order and time, maybe one altered by fire, maybe one altered by shadow and death via Argus.
Interesting.
It's maybe like taking
we did have a reset
like,
after Legion, yes,
Apocalypse,
you're right,
and molding it into something else. Order turns it into reorigination, maybe light turns it into flames of reorigination, etc. You're like taking a base value and adjusting it essentially. So I think
that's interesting. He's talking about light becoming flame. That's what we're seeing kind of with Hallowfall, right? They use the light, but in a different way. It's a different light. I could see that. Like the elements that we currently know, or the things we currently know, like the light and the shadow, get turned into something else.
The future of Azeroth also comes down to, if reorigination happens, what kind of reorigination is it? Is it the dark, shadowy reorigination that comes from Argus in the fight? Is it going to immediately end all life in the cosmos if it happens? Is it a flame that cascades out from a world tree and burns the world around it? Looking at Farok and the Fire Lord situation going on, is it
interesting?
What does that look
Forgot
like?
About that.
Is it the void coming to try to drown the world in darkness and from it rebirthing in a horrific visage of what it once was? What does that mean? I think one of the most fun quotes from any Old Gods stuff is the quote that says, "She is not the last, but the first. Drown her and you will see."
Oh, he's talking
Drown
about
is something that we typically associate with water, right? Like drowning in a pool, drowning in the ocean. Well, when you fight Agramar, he also says drown in flames. And I always just thought like, oh, that's interesting. Like you could technically drown the world in flames as well if you wanted to look at it that way. Like the word drown doesn't have to specifically refer to a liquid or to a body of water.
Yeah, it just could drown could just be like submerging into something, right? Like fully submerging into anything. Yeah, drowning in work, that's a term we use. Drowning in sorrow, drowning in flames. Yeah, like that's it just means like fully enveloping or submerging yourself into something.
Like or dying inside of it. So drowning in emotion. That's whatever it might be.
Yeah, like what he's saying here.
So yeah, I think the end of the World Soul Saga is I wouldn't say it's very hard to predict. I actually think it's more predictable than much of the other things that we've had in the past, but also only as a result of the fact that they announced 2 expansions before it. And, so hopefully that answers your question.
Well, one thing that I do want to also, someone mentioned like, disbanding of the Horde and Alliance. I kind of wish we would just reband the Horde and Alliance. I know that would be less likely, because then you're kind of, they would not go backwards. That's not going to happen. But what I would hope is maybe like you get some new server tech. We recently talked about mesh servers and all that shit, where you bring some of these servers in together again, so that way there's more people on a server, more things going on, and then you can get some more faction shit. Even though you're breaking the factions, it doesn't mean faction conflicts necessarily have to completely end forever. You could have some faction shit going on, and then when you're in a raid or a dungeon, you could still have friends on the other side. That's already in the lore. Like Anduin was talking with the Horde, talking with Bane and all these, the Tauren and shit, long before there was ever factions coming together. So you could have friendships across faction lines, even though there's faction shit going on.
I would like to see a continuation of the universe.
One mega server, I wish.
I do not believe that Azeroth waking up has to be absolutely destructive for our planet. I don't believe that. I think that it is possible that a Titan can wake up and not have to risk the life of every living thing on the planet. Perhaps Azeroth has been drowning in spirit, so she's asleep. Well, let me ask you guys this question. If you guys have paid attention throughout the history and world of Azeroth, there's a lot of water. A lot of water that cascades down from mountains and down into facilities, and then a lot of times underground.
Right.
Underground. Where's that water going? Remember with that whisper I showed you earlier? At the bottom of the ocean, even light must die. Is it possible that they're trying to put her out? We talked about it before. Is it possible they're trying to literally drown her in water? And the reason she appears as like a living flame is because she's like at risk of drowning?
Being put out, yeah.
Or
maybe.
is the water coming to her, her energy suffusing it, and then it's supposed to go somewhere else? I have a feeling it'd be fucked up if at the core of our world there was like a huge vault that she's being kept in, and water is just coming into the vault and like slowly like filling the vault up. And if the vault fills, it just puts her light out. Just snuffs her out. That'd be fucked up. Basically just slowly drowning her. That'd be fucked up, dude. The Circle of Stars could be the essence of the Titans themselves. Sure. And there's even been that old god whisper, now my dream has been made your own. The Circle
make the Horde Alliance one and make a new non-player enemy faction. That could be interesting. It could be interesting, although it would kind of, like one of the things that I always liked about WoW early on was your enemy was another player. So I mean, I know that hasn't been that way in a long time. PvP is kind of it's a side thing in WoW, but especially world PvP. But that would be an interesting one, a new non-player enemy faction. But then you get a ton of fanboys who just want to be those non-player players too, right? We'd have to see how that worked. But yeah, you could do that. You could.
Stars made flesh. The idea, flesh is his gift. He
have
is
some
your
actual
true
like
creator.
open wars with that other faction.
I've
That'd be
always
cool.
loved the idea that flesh and mortality are actually tied to death, and that by the Titans meddling with the power of Argus, that they may have accidentally afflicted themselves with what they consider to be the curse of flesh. And if they do that and turn themselves into flesh, then they can die. And if they can die, then that means that someone can kill them. And if someone can kill them, his name is Sargeras. That's what I want.
Iridikron.
I don't think that'll happen. But I do like the idea
That's Iridikron's plan, right? He wants to kill the Titans.
Some way maybe the Titans
that's his
end up
plan.
becoming flesh. Like, what if they too become corrupted? Remember Harboron? Because Harboron, remember
Harboron.
on the
fuck is this?
on the ship, the Maw of the Damned, he's a Constellar who is affected by flesh and seems to be corrupted by it. And Xalatath has some dialogue about him.
Interesting.
She says, I don't know if it's in here. Oh, it was thought his kind was incorruptible. A lesson for my brothers, I suppose. And it's talking about
Clearly
a Constellar
corruptible.
who seems to have turned to flesh.
Oh, damn. That's a cool looking model. What the hell? We don't have anything like this. You can't play anything that looks like this. Damn.
Interesting. Or death, even.
Interesting that Blizzard would put this kind of work into a model and have it be irrelevant. That's usually unlikely.
Even his kind, he was maybe swayed to death, Maw of Souls type shit. I mean, he is on the boat of the
Why
damned.
can't we have this fucking beard? This is an awesome looking beard. It's like a very cool beard.
Hell yeah, right? So maybe he's corrupted by death. But he does take on a fleshy, and he has hair, which is like, whoa, that's weird. Why does he look this way? Maybe it's because death, mortality, flesh being
like
the
a
gift
re-rigged
of
broken
death
Dry
himself
Knight.
makes sense. I mean,
I think it
flesh-
looks like a re-rigged Vrykul mage. I think it's a Vrykul skeleton.
flesh is necessary for mortality and for the soul to move. Life, death, I'm but one ripple in the eternal ebb and flow. Now it is I who must pay the blood price. Right? Almost like
dwarf.
Raden becoming corrupted, becoming super fucking sad. Their bodies, I think, can be corrupted by flesh.
True.
And if they can, then that whisper, yeah, my dream has been made your own. The circle of stars made
You
flesh.
could be onto something.
It would be very interesting if the circle of stars, the pantheon of order, was turned into flesh.
Blood for the
And
blood
by the
god.
way, out of all of the titans, who appears to be the most fleshy of them all? I'll just answer the question. His name is Sargeras.
True. Interesting. Really interesting thoughts here. I kind of like some of this stuff. The thought of the Titans being corrupted into flesh and then being killable, essentially like making, I cut you, you bleed kind of shit. Now I made you be able to bleed, now I can kill you. Iridikron that could be part of his plan as well. Whether or not it's Sargeras' plan or not, I'm not completely convinced yet. he's killed them before, but he killed them knowing they could come back. I don't know if he actually wants to kill them or not. We'd have to wait and see. Right now, I think he just wants to prove to them a point that the void is a big problem, and I'm making sure you're going to know it's a problem. That's why I stabbed the plant, and now you got to deal with this shit. Interesting stuff. All of these theories, a lot of them we've talked about, how it could lead to a WoW 2, a reset of the game. That's honestly what I wish would happen. Whether or not it would actually happen, who knows? But if I ever did see a reset, I would like it to be at our planet, up-res the planet, we start fresh, have good times. Once again, and play WoW for another 20 years, yeah.